Terry,
Ukraine, sir.
he's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
Well, we'll take a look.
You do such a disservice.
We'll take a look at
Why
that,
don't you
sir.
just say, yes, he does, and, go on to something else?
It sounds like he very much believes this. I'm sorry, it looks like a 10-year-old Photoshop that. So this is the President of the United States is trying to tell us all that this is not a Photoshop image.
Hey, it's Jordan. I am in Flint, Michigan, East Palestine, Ohio, Tumwa, Iowa. Please support the only independent outlet on the ground covering what the corporate media covers up.
Hey, it's Ashley with Status Coup. Be patient. That is the message from Trump to working people this morning in a seriously unhinged post on Truth Social. Be patient and wait to see the real effects of the tariffs while you are struggling to purchase basic necessities like food, medication, diapers, baby formula to pay your rent, your student loans, and car payments. Trump and his billionaire friends want you to stop voicing your struggle, be patient, and wait. So let's take a look at the post that he made earlier. So our president writes, "This is Biden's stock market, not Trump's. I didn't take over until January 20th. Tariffs will soon start kicking in, and companies are starting to move into the USA in record numbers. Our country will boom, but we have to get rid of the Biden overhang." The Biden overhang, that's what he's calling it. "This will take a while, has nothing to do with tariffs, only that he left us with bad numbers, but when the boom begins, it will be like no other. Be patient." So again, be patient and wait for the tariffs to take effect. The very same tariffs that are likely to start emptying out store shelves and jack up prices for the things that are actually still on your store shelves. Everything from computers, car parts, precious metals that are used in your phone, medications like Tylenol that are produced overseas, many of the plastic widgets that your entire house is filled with that you probably rely on a daily basis will either be unavailable for the foreseeable future or potentially could become prohibitively expensive to most working people. And that doesn't even account for the fact that we are careening into a recession, though whether or not we are technically in a recession right now just doesn't matter. People are already struggling enough. Being technically in a recession simply means that that pain is now codified for all of us and is expected to get worse as just a rule, and that there will be little end in sight. So again, while Trump and his cronies might be comfortable and be able to wait out the tariffs, wait out the short-term pain for long-term gain, as they're saying, and that's not even a given at this point, because remember when CEOs of Home Depot, Target, and Walmart met with Trump just last week to warn him that never mind us having the things that we all need to buy, they might not have the things that they need to sell to us. So this is from, again, just last week. Trump hosts Walmart, Target, and Home Depot CEOs for tariff meeting. Trump's aggressive tariff policies have caused uncertainty both for investors and business leaders, many of whom rely heavily on imported goods. So again, it's not just us who are scared right now. Even the billionaire class is getting a little bit worried. And, Trump wants us all to believe that the immediate chaos that these tariffs have already brought, which is only expected to get worse, is solely Biden's fault. It's, as he said, the Biden overhang. And a lot of things are Biden's fault. I'm not going to defend Biden or any of the Democrats. The first thing that comes to mind as being Biden's fault is Trump being in the Oval Office saying these things right now. Their inability to offer any kind of material relief to working people is exactly what brought us Trump right now to begin with. I wrote about this in January for Jacobin with another journalist, Spencer Snyder. So in this piece, we wrote, Democrats assigned themselves one job and failed. For the last 3 election cycles, the main project of the Democratic Party has been to keep Donald Trump out of office. Advancing policy to improve the lives of working people has been at best an afterthought and at worst a distraction. Every other aspect of politics has been deprioritized to favor this single goal, with vote blue no matter who emerging as their rallying cry. But despite the elevation of beating Trump over important policy areas like healthcare, education, housing, worker protections, and so on, the strategy still failed twice. Not only are working people now set to face the immense challenges of a second Trump term without any palpable progress that might have been achieved during the Joe Biden years, the Democrats have also dramatically harmed their reputation and lost scores of working class voters for nothing in the process. In 2016, Bernie Sanders, running on a slate of policies designed to uplift the working class, faced unique opposition within his own party and he was presented as an unacceptable political risk. Hillary Clinton and the Democratic establishment, rather than learn from the surprising success of the Sanders campaign, blamed it for losing Clinton the general election. And I am sure that they will do this again when they're seeing, the scores of people heading out to the fight, Bernie Sanders Fight the Oligarchy tour. Sanders faced the same inter-party acrimony in 2020, with party elites coordinating the dropout of several popular primary opponents to boost Joe Biden's chances. In the end, when Biden stepped over Bernie into the White House, the best the Democrats could say about him was, hey, at least he is not Trump. Again, the Democrats' failure to alleviate the material burden of the neoliberal policies that have divested the working class of every shred of wealth that we've been able to build up for ourselves and every modicum of stability that we have been able to steal away is why Trump is sitting in the Oval Office right now trying to convince us all that a photoshopped image of Kilmar Abrego Garcia's hand with an MS-13 tattoo on it is actually real. If you haven't seen this clip yet, it's from a totally unhinged interview that Trump did yesterday on ABC. So I'll show this clip here.
He wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute
Well, wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
Oh, he had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was photoshopped. So let me
That was photoshopped, Terry. You can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. I picked you, Terry. But you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture. We'll
and you think it was Photoshop? Well,
here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine, sir.
Terry,
I want to get to Ukraine.
No. He had MS as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go on. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't there, but they're there now, right?
No,
but
they're in your picture.
Terry,
Ukraine, sir.
He's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
Well, we'll take a look at that.
You do such a disservice.
We'll take a look at that,
Why don't
sir.
you just say, yes, he does, and go on to something else?
It's contested.
I mean, what is even happening here? It sounds like he very much believes this, and if you scroll down a little bit, I believe that this is the image in question. It looks like a 10-year-old photoshopped that. So this is the president of the United States is trying to tell us all that this is not a photoshopped image. The Democrats are responsible for this. They're responsible either through their own policy choices over the last 40 plus years or through enabling Republicans' worst tendencies over that same time period. At no point did the self-proclaimed adults in the room do any kind of adulting, and now we have Trump sitting here in the Oval Office having this insane, unhinged argument with a reporter about whether or not a clearly photoshopped image is photoshopped. Again, the blame for this falls at the feet of Democrats. Even Politico wrote about this in February. So here is a piece from this past February in Politico. Voters were right about the economy. The data was wrong. Here's why unemployment is higher, wages are lower, and growth less robust than government statistics suggest. I'm not going to read all of this, but I am going to go through some of it. So the piece goes, before the presidential election, many Democrats were puzzled by the seeming discontent between economic reality, as reflected in various government statistics, and the public's perceptions of the economy on the ground. Many in Washington bristled at the public's failure to register how the economy really was. They charged that right-wing echo chambers were conning voters into believing entirely preposterous narratives about America's decline. What they rarely considered was whether something else might be responsible for the disconnect, whether, for instance, government statistics were fundamentally flawed. What if the numbers supporting the case for broad-based prosperity were themselves misrepresentations? What if, in fact, darker assessments of the economy were more authentically tethered to reality? And I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. In recent years, as my focus has broadened beyond finance to the economy as a whole, the disconnect between hard government numbers and popular perception has spurred me to question this faith that he previously said that he had in all of this. I've had the benefit of living in two realms that seem rarely to intersect, one as a Washington insider, the other as an advisor to lenders and investors across the country. Toggling between the two has led me to be increasingly skeptical that the government's measurements properly capture the realities defining unemployment, wage growth, and the strength of the economy as a whole. These numbers have time and again suggested to many in Washington that unemployment is low, that wages are growing for middle America, and to a greater or lesser degree, economic growth is lifting all boats year upon year. I'm sure it does not help this at all that a lot of these people in office do not actually interact with the public or just regular, ordinary working people on a regular basis. So they have no fucking idea what people are actually going through. And he goes on, when traveling the country, I've encountered something very different. Cities that appeared increasingly seedy, regions that seemed derelict. Driving into the office each day in Washington, I noted a homeless encampment fixed outside the Federal Reserve itself. And then I began to detect a second pattern inside and outside DC alike. Democrats on the whole seemed much more inclined to believe what the economic indicators reported. Republicans, by contrast, seemed more inclined to believe what they were seeing with their own two eyes. Again, this is a piece from Politico. Working people were suffering under Biden and during Trump's first term and under Obama and under Bush and on and on. And every year it just gets a little bit worse until finally Trump dumped some gasoline over our heads and accelerated a process that's been going on for the last 40 plus years with both Republicans and Democrats at the wheel. Yesterday, it was reported that retail giant Amazon, owned by one of our most prominent union busters, Jeff Bezos, was going to start displaying additional tariff costs next to their regular price listing on their website for their lower cost Amazon haul section, which has cheap products. So things that would cost about $20 or less to compete with other cheap plastic widget retailers like Temu. And I'm going to guess that all of the $8 t-shirts and $2 plastic spatulas or whatever have been produced under only the absolute worst conditions so that we can all get the cheap things that we depend on because wages haven't gone up in years and we are an economy powered by credit card debt. And when a reporter asked White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt about Amazon's new pricing plans yesterday and what that says about who is actually carrying the burden from the Trump tariffs, they had this to say. And judging by the reaction from Leavitt, they know that it's certainly not China, as they have been trying to tell us.
So it was reported this morning that Amazon will soon display a little number next to the price of each product that shows how much the Trump tariffs are adding to the cost of each product. So isn't that a perfect, crystal clear demonstration that it's the American consumer and not China who is going to have to pay for these policies?
I will take this since I just got off the phone with the president about Amazon's announcement. This is a hostile and political act by Amazon. Why didn't Amazon do this when the Biden administration hiked inflation to the highest level in 40 years?
I mean, that is an insane thing to say. Completely unhinged insane. They are calling this a hostile and political act from Amazon. And these things are just not comparable. Inflation is not something that has an actual figure attached to it. You can say that the US has imposed a 145% tariff on China, but there is no equivalent figure to attach to that for inflation. Biden didn't impose a 100% inflation tax on the public. It's just not at all comparable in that way. And I genuinely kind of can't get over what a crazy thing this is to say, and the fact that it is just not rooted in any kind of logic whatsoever.
And I would also add that it's not a surprise because, as Reuters recently wrote, Amazon has partnered with a Chinese propaganda arm. So this is another reason why Americans should buy American. It's another reason why we are onshoring critical supply chains here at home to shore up our own critical supply chain and boost our own manufacturing here.
Is Jeff Bezos still a Trump supporter?
Look, I will not speak to the president's relationships with Jeff Bezos, but I will tell you that this is certainly a hostile and political action by Amazon. And Secretary, if you have anything to add.
I mean, again, this is all of that is absolutely insane. And there's no chance that Levitt believes anything that she herself is saying. But some people who are watching are going to believe it. And I'm sorry, MAGA, but they have no faith in your ability to think critically about anything. I mean, it could not be any more evident from watching that clip. And again, to comment on all of these things taken in their totality because of the policy choices of the last 40 years from Democrats and Republicans, working people cannot be patient and just wait it out. Never mind the fact that what we're waiting for are empty shelves and increased prices from places like Amazon, where we have been totally dependent upon to get cheap things that help our lives run. And I just have to say this to kind of like close all of this out. Sometimes I think that when there is too much momentum built up behind a thing, it just kind of becomes an inevitability. And it kind of feels like it very much feels like the decline of the US is simply an inevitability at this point. There is too much momentum. The car is going too fast now to turn off the road. I was talking with another journalist yesterday, and it's like we have option A, where either some, Bernie-like figure emerges and we begin the painfully slow process of turning this around, or option B, we don't. And the momentum seems to be very strongly behind option B. Maybe Trump fucks things up so badly that we get Cory Booker in office in 2028. But a lot of the policies from Trump's, current golden era are going to remain. And I don't think the Democrats have the political will to fix that or begin the process of doing things like planning for bringing back manufacturing. But at this point, we wouldn't be bringing back manufacturing so much as establishing manufacturing here in the US for the first time for a lot of things. I don't think that people really fully appreciate that we haven't been manufacturing here in the US for so long that there are some items that we have never actually made here and don't have the manufacturing robotics, whatever, to actually produce. So again, we're kind of starting from scratch. Even these manufacturing jobs that, if we somehow wound up bringing them back for people and not robots, it is going to take years to undo the damage that's been done over the last 40 years to the manufacturing sector, to the rest of the country, to working people. And it's entirely possible that even if a Democrat manages to get in 2028 and we don't end up with a Trump, third term, because of their lack of political will to be anything other than not Trump, we wind up with someone far worse in 2032. I don't know. Again, making any kind of political predictions, I think is folly. But if that is the case, please do not misunderstand me. No one is off the hook from fighting against this. We're not going to win if we don't try. So all we can do is keep trying, no matter where it feels like the momentum is headed. We can still try to turn things around. And don't, as Trump asked us all, to be patient. Being patient gets us nothing. So thank you for watching this video. If you like this, please do follow, and subscribe to Status Coup News. And if you can, please do consider becoming a paid member for as little as $5 a month so that we can keep bringing you more of this. John Farina and I are going on the road tomorrow. I think we're going to announce this later. By the time this has come up, maybe we've announced this already, but we're going on the road tomorrow. We are very excited for our first reporting trip, and it takes a lot of resources to actually be able to just kind of pick up and go cover a thing. So again, if you can, please do consider becoming a paid member so that we can keep bringing you more reporting and, we can keep going on the road, showing you what's going on in other parts of the country. And you can do that at statuscoup.com/join. Thanks again. Bye.